biggest chads in history. That's what we're going to be talking about today, okay? And understand this, bro. I'm sure you've heard the saying, history is made by the victors. And that is true. However, one thing they don't tell you are the best chapters are defined by chads, dog. And I do mean that, dude. Let me tell you something right now, man. You'll be hearing about, like, oh, yes, during the 1800s, there was a conflict that expanded 30 minutes. And then there was another one that expanded over 100 years. And then you think to yourself, okay, how do you make conflict sound that boring? And then you hear this absolutely insane story where one man, for the course of, like, his entire lifetime, literally became real-life Rambo. And then, boom, you find out he actually inspired Captain America. We're going to be talking about a lot of really, really cool people, and these are some of my favorite people throughout history, so there will be some repeats, and then there's going to be some I'm shocked I haven't talked about, and people kind of like Teddy Roosevelt, the former United States president, Audie Murphy, the most decorated soldier throughout the entirety of WW2, to Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest swordsman to ever live. We have a lot that we're going to be covering, and if this video does well, we will make a historical chads video part 2 or volume 2. I like volumes more than I like parts, that's just me. But there you go, that is going to be the video. If this video seems entertaining, please consider like, comment, and subscribe. We are trying to get to 300,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Hit the bell icon to stay notified. Click all for all, and the history people are eating good. And with all that out of the way, let's get into the video. Let's go. Teddy Roosevelt. Brother, Teddy Roosevelt can't be a real person. Like, people talk about, like, modern politics doesn't feel real, dude. I'm convinced that if Teddy Roosevelt came back today, y'all would be like, okay, he's doing it for the gram. And I think that's the craziest part. Teddy Roosevelt did stuff as president that were like, brother, he did it for the love of the game. This man was like, dude, I really like hunting. And then a dude ties a bear cub to a tree, expecting Teddy Roosevelt to take out the bear cub. And then he over here cuts it free, starts like literally like yelling at these guys like a disappointed father. And that's how we got the term teddy bear. Yeah, that's another thing, bro. One thing you're going to realize from, like, the historical chads video is that a lot of these people inadvertently expired other things. Teddy Roosevelt comes from teddy bear. I never thought about that because that sounds fake, but that's just true. Teddy Roosevelt's him, okay? When he was running to get reelected, bro, somebody went up to him and hit him with the ba-ba-ba. Smoked him right in the chest, and he's over here. Teddy, we have to go back, man. You're not looking too good right now. No, all these people already came out. So he goes up on stage, gives a 30-minute long speech, and apologizes to the people there. I'm sorry if I'm difficult to hear right now. I just took a shot to the chest. Went through the entire speech. People at this point were like, stop, Teddy, you don't have to keep going. Don't tell me what to do, boy. And then just kept on going. Brother, Teddy Roosevelt is not a normal human being. I'm sorry. If that happened today, we would accuse it of not being real. Like, brother, I'm sorry. That's how absurd that is. Teddy Roosevelt is, like, the original, top 5 favorite farming presidents of, now, probably number 1, if we're being honest here. Teddy Roosevelt's that guy. But on top of all that, you're thinking about stuff, okay, well, that's not that crazy. That's kind of weird that you're picking that one thing, and that puts him on there. No, there was other things. This man would stage boxing matches inside of the Oval Office. Brother, we're talking about a UFC card being held at the White House, and some people are saying, this is an absolute travesty. Nothing like this has ever been done before. And I agree with you, nothing like that has been done. Brother, he would invite his 5-star generals into his Oval Office, and in order to get a meeting with them, he would have them strap on boxing gloves. Teddy Roosevelt, I keep on having going. Teddy Roosevelt wasn't just a real human being. He was also a U.S. president. And he was doing all of this. Well, why did he stop? He boxed one of the meanest 5-star generals from the army and got his orbital bone cracked. And even till the end of his administration, kept on saying, there's a lot of things that I want to do during my time here. But one of those is I want to get a rematch with him. Brother, Teddy is not a normal human being. And then he had a kid, and then his kid was actually a part of D-Day and was able to actually walk upon the beaches of Normandy, and then died of a panic attack. Brother, I'm sorry, the Roosevelt family doesn't make sense to me, like, at all. And whenever I talk about Teddy Roosevelt, the fact is, brother, he is a giga Chad. Is he one of the Chads himself? No, admittedly. But, like, Teddy Roosevelt, whenever you hear a fact, like, if somebody gives you a weird historical fact, you're going to be like, okay, that doesn't sound real. Well, Teddy Roosevelt did it. Okay, then Teddy Roosevelt. He also loved horseback combat and then did a lot of stuff in Central America. And I mean, like, this man was literally strolling up on a horse, walking on the side of a mountain because he thought it was like, yeah, bro, this is what I love. I'm sorry, Giga Chad level. No question. Alexander the Great. Brother, imagine being such a Chad, okay? Imagine being such a Chad that your nickname becomes your de facto name. It's kind of like Genghis Khan. Like, no, Genghis Khan's real name is not Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan actually means universal ruler or universal conqueror. His real name was most likely Temujin. But, like, Temujin doesn't really have aura, bro. Brother, Alexander the Great. Imagine being so cool that you can, like, there will never be another person named Alexander that was going to overtake you. Imagine being so famous that every single person that's ever been named Alex or Alejandro or Alexander is indirectly named after you. And nobody talks about that. Like, people are like, oh, well, I wasn't named after Alexander the Great. I was named after this Alexander. That Alexander was named after Alexander the Great. Oh, no, he wasn't. He was named after... No. Alexander the Great is so influential, okay? Every single person that is named Alex or Alejandro or Alexander, Alexandria, any of those, they can trace back the inspiration to this guy. He is one of the most referenced human beings in the history of the planet. He holds records that only him, the Prophet Muhammad, and J-Dog have. And Alexander just came in like an absolute Chad, comes in redheaded and all. And that's another thing, brother. This is what I'm starting to notice. Brother, if you are redheaded, you are either a soulless demon or you are going to be one of the most influential beings of all time. Fun fact, George Washington was also a redhead. Nobody talks about that. No, George Washington had bright red hair, but they didn't do it in painting, so they put a wig on him, which is just tragic loss of history. And I'm not even getting to the stats, bro. Alexander the Great, literally undefeated throughout his entire life, taking on militaries and empires that stood for hundreds to thousands of years. Boom, 18-year-old Alexander comes in, humbles the hell out of him, doing tactics that even people to this day are studying. This man was so ahead of the game, they were just like, he has to have protection from, like, divine energy. But they couldn't pick what divine protection he had. Literally setting the foundation for what would be, like, brother, he's him. And I was going to say set the foundation of what next emperors would come, but that's Julius Caesar. But Julius Caesar was inspired by Alexander. Brother, Alexander is such an influential and Chad figure that you had Julius Caesar straight up deriding. I won't be talking about that in a second, bro. I'm putting Alexander the Great, one of the Chads himself, bro. He defines the word Chad. Look at this picture, dog. Winston Churchill. Listen, as an American, let me tell you something right now, okay? I got a love-hate relationship with my European homies, bro, okay? I call Europe the PvP server of history, because I swear, dog, every single time something goes down, it goes down there. Like, you ever think about that, bro? WW1, WW2, literally your homeland was turned into the PvP server for the entire world. And on top of all of that, most of the world's conflicts are done there. No. I mean, like, historically speaking, if you took all of the world's conflicts that have ever occurred, Europe has most of them. Y'all, brother, like, I make this joke that if the entirety of like, Earth was a Minecraft server, America would have some problems, but at the end of the day, like, we kind of came in late. We're the new gen. We're the Gen Z of the Minecraft crew, okay? China, Asia, that entire continent kind of keeps to themselves, but they have some insane lore when you dig deep. Brother, Europe, it is an app. That's where Spawn is, apparently. That's where Spawn is. It's just absolutely everybody's going crazy for the majority of human history. Europe just has all of the ones, the twos, the three pieces, and the soda. And guess what, bro? Catapults. And then you have Winston Churchill. At this point in WW2, Paris has... Oh, not Paris. France. I mean, one of the only good things about France. France has fell, absolutely. Germany strolls in with a big D energy and causes the bits made country of France to wilt like a daffodil as their op walks into their hood. They do nothing, bro. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, yes, yeah, please take our take our country, take our women. Brother, I'm sorry. Germany can lil bro France to the end of absolute days. I stand on that. Brother, at this point, that's where I'm at. France can't say anything to Germany, bro. Germany can do whatever they want to France at this point. Okay? But imagine this, bro. You're Britain, you're the UK. You're over here. You have been blitzkrieged by the German Air Force for literally months at a time. Just bam, bah, bah. France fell. Absolute pathetic. And then Winston Churchill, the Chad himself, walks in and says, "We do not negotiate with Germans. We do not falter. We will stand and we will win." Winston Churchill came in and said, "Brother, do I look French to you? Let me remind you where I descend from. One of the greatest empires to ever exist. We are descendant of this." Oh, you're thinking, oh yeah, bro, Germany's gonna reclaim their old power. We're gonna take back the lands we unjustly lost. Are you being for real right now, little bro? Okay, listen, we are descendants of the great British Armada, the great British Empire. The sun will never set. We had to nerf ourselves because of how weak y'all were. And you think we're gonna stand down and take it like France? Get out of here, bro. No, bro, Winston Churchill. Chad, I'll put him in Giga Chad, bro. I will. I'm sorry, Winston Churchill, a little bit less than Teddy Roosevelt. American bias, I do got to put it right there. However, I think that's a fair placement. Conor McGregor. Some people are going to be like, huh? Let me explain something to you really now. Brother, I will say this right now. I think Conor McGregor had the hardest, literally, distilled down aura farming and shad streak in sports history. I really do. Now, don't get me wrong. He's not going to go that high. But the reason I'm putting him on here, bro, is imagine being a failed plumber from Ireland, joining a combat sports league, and making that combat sports league the most popular one in the entire world, and putting yourself in the top 10 highest paid athletes of all time. Okay? Coming from Ireland, by the way, and you are dropping bars to some of MMA athletes, MMA fighters that have lineages of champions, and you're over here strolling into Brazil facing Jose Aldo, okay? Nicknamed the King of Rio, by the way. Strolls in. The entire crowd is shouting obscenities, threats in Portuguese and in English. And Conor McGregor strolls in, shirtless underneath a Gucci mink jacket, grabs the microphone. "I'm the King of Brazil." Starts going absolutely insane, brother. And then you're seeing footage of what he was doing afterwards, being like, okay, well, Conor McGregor's just saying all of this. He's not actually doing it. He strolls up to a nightclub in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The King of Rio's home, okay? Strolls into a bar with a picture of Jose Aldo, rips it in front of them, and starts eating the photo as the crowd screams again. Brother, I've said this multiple times, dude. I do believe if Conor McGregor was born in any other time in U.S. history, he would be used as like a rebellion leader's figurehead. I 100%. Brother, they're like, understand this. Like, you think back, and this is how I like to explain it. It's like, man, how did these leaders like motivate people to like go to war for them? Brother, I ain't gonna lie. There was a portion of time where Conor McGregor was so charismatic that this man could legitimately convince anybody to do anything. And I always call back to this one, bro. Okay, listen, I get that press conference with Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo, speaking Portuguese, doesn't really understand what's going on. And then Jose Aldo says, it's just like he calls himself a king. I don't see no crown. He is nothing but a jester. I am the true king of Rio, Jose Aldo. And then Conor McGregor looks over to him, barely understands Portuguese. Here's the translation. And before the translation can even fully complete, he grabs the microphone and says, he says, I am a crown. But if we were born in a different time, I would stroll into his favelas on horseback and kill any man that was not fit to work. But we are in a new age, so I'm going to kick his ass Saturday night. Keep in mind, this is a full Brazilian crowd. In saying this, there have been times where like Brazilian crowds will straight up attack athletes that talk crap about them. You can see Dana White go, bro, they're about to get him. They're about to get him, bro. Conor, you can't be doing this. And he keeps on going. He strolls across the press conference to grab Jose Aldo's title, holding it up like this. Like, I'm sorry, dude. It was literally a borderline religious experience seeing that. Am I going to put him that high? No. Conor McGregor does have some moments that I would put in like one of the moments in sports history when it comes to aura farming and Chad moments. I'm putting them in Chad moments. Audie Murphy. The most decorated soldier of World War II. I was going to say of the U.S. military. No, literally of all of them. Okay? Survives the entire thing. Let me tell you how crazy Audie Murphy's story is, okay? He comes into this life 7 of 12 children. This is how you know this story is going to be good. This is how you know this story is going to absolute cook. When you're the middle child of 12 children. They didn't even know how to name this guy, so they were like, hey, yo, who's this chick that helped deliver him? What's your name? Aubrey! All right. His name's Audie. Audie Murphy. Okay, I'm gonna go leave. And then his deadbeat dad left him with their mom with, again, 12 children, by the way. 12 children, by the way. I just gotta keep on pressing that. They were so dirt poor that Audie Murphy had to resort to eating animals that he could manage to take out with rocks. He started off small, eating some mice, some rats, and then his big moment is at 5 years old, he managed to get a rabbit by smoking it with a pebble. And then after he smoked the rabbit, so he could feed his friends, he started getting a job because he dropped out of school at about, I think it was like 7th grade. Drops out of school at 7th grade to provide for his 12 siblings after his dad bailed. Okay? He got a job working as a farmhand, getting $1 a day. And then, guess what? He ends up basically cleaning up this entire dude's farmland and is like, hey, do you want a gift instead? I can give you something. And he requests a .22 rifle. Grabs the .22 and says, okay, are you sure you know how to use that, boy? And it's like, yeah, I think I know how to use it, sir. So they go on a dove hunting trip, right? They send Audie Murphy down a ridge basically to just do target practice while these two grown men have like actual good rifles for this. They hear what they describe as like the sounds of an actual war zone, and they come back. Audie Murphy smoked 16 doves, okay? And he has the state limit right here. And they ask him, it's just like, where did you learn how to do that? Why'd you do all that? You see, guys, I come from an upbringing that if I ever missed, I didn't have the money to replace the bullets. And whenever I take out a dove, that usually can feed 2 of my siblings. Brother, Audie Murphy's childhood is absolutely insane. This is all confirmed, by the way, from like people that were able, like, witnessed it. Audie Murphy, again, I gotta throw in this too. Audie Murphy, at the ripe age of 6, I think it was like 17 or 18, is 5'4", 115 pounds. Literally Captain America before he became Captain America. This is Lil Steve, okay? Strolls up, gets rejected from the Navy, gets rejected from the Air Force, gets rejected from the Army, gets rejected from the Marines. And it wasn't until he started going to them again when they had different recruiters working, he was actually able to get in. Once he gets in, because he didn't even meet the bare bones physical requirements, he gets in there at 18 years old, gets throughout the entirety of basic, and people start talking about him like a leader. Like they think this guy could actually be leading, but physically he doesn't have a lot. Keep in mind, this guy later becomes the most decorated soldier of World War II. Okay? Audie Murphy, and I'm brushing over some stuff just because of like how crazy his story is. Audie Murphy goes into WW2, okay? And this man, this is my favorite story of his. Audie Murphy, when he is going, he's going with his men, they get ambushed by Germans. Germans have a full ambush brigade, gunning them down, taking out a few of them. And as the Allied forces retreat into the woodline, Audie Murphy decides to go out solo with his buddy. And they run out basically into no man's land, survive the entire thing, and it's to the point that they actually think that they might have to surrender after they take out only one nest. They put up the the white flag basically be like, hey, we're done. And they smoke his buddy in front of him. And Audie Murphy believes it was at that point he got possessed by a demon. He grabbed the machine gun, literally Rambo style, walked him down, and took out all of the remaining ambushers single-handedly. Brother, what? You remember Fury? You remember that one movie where Brad Pitt was on top of a tank and mowing down the rest of them, but then his character ends up passing in the final moment? Yeah, that's actually Audie Murphy. Audie Murphy has one where he literally was able to army crawl up to an SS tank, go in, take everybody out involved with it, and then he spends the next 6 hours on top of it, taking out all of the reinforcement Germans that were sending in, and then he starts running out of ammo on this, to the point that by the end of it, he is literally just trying to find stuff to take out the remaining Germans. Keep in mind, all of his homies are over here watching this like, bro, Audie Murphy is the coolest dude I think I've ever seen. And then, as he's done repelling all of the Germans, shrapnel is in his leg, brother, and keep in mind, he's not even complaining. When they radioed him in basically to ask, like, hey, Audie Murphy, how are you doing? Well, I'm not going to complain about my feet being cold because the tank was on fire. Audie Murphy was a different type of human being. And fun fact, as he walked away from the tank after he had his 6-hour stalemate with the Germans, the tank blew up behind him. Audie Murphy has real-life plot armor, okay? Ended up getting hit with a bullet, got gangrene, and they had to chop 5 pounds of butt meat off of him. Horrific. Keep in mind, there's a 115-pound man, by the way. Okay? Flirts with the nurse, proposes to the nurse, gets rejected, goes back to conflict, ends up saving, I think he ended up saving like 25 of his fellow armymen, became one of the greatest covert, brother, I could keep on going. Like, he just keeps on going. This man was such a big chad that when they brought him back after WW2, what ended up happening is he would star in movies based off him playing him. And they had to tell him to tone it back because the stories were so unbelievable, even Hollywood didn't believe it. Brother, I'm sorry. Audie Murphy's going in one of the chads himself. And no. Look into how crazy Audie Murphy's story is, and you're going to be like, yeah, Audie Murphy's him, dog. Albert Einstein. I'm going to say this right now, bro. If you're going to go off like historical chads, you can do, like when you're doing like geniuses, Albert Einstein easily, bro. Okay? Sir Isaac Newton, 100%. You could put him on here. I did Albert Einstein because Albert Einstein has one of my favorite quotes when he's explaining the general theory of relativity. And I thought that this was a fake quote for the longest time. He says, if I drop a hot iron on your lap, and I told you to wait there for a minute, that minute is going to seem like eternity. If I put a woman on your lap, that 1 minute is going to go by like a second. That's the general theory of relativity. Albert Einstein was a genius that had game. I have to respect that, dude. Okay, listen, and also from WW2 times, brother. Like, literally leaves Germany right before the Great Cost occurs. Comes back, plays like a literal Avengers-level collab with Oppenheimer when they created Operation, the Manhattan Project, which later ended off with the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Had some all-time banger quotes about that. But, brother, I'm sorry. Albert Einstein was so smart that he had theories about the universe that were like, that can't be right. But the math doesn't lie, so I'm just going to keep it like that. And then it wasn't until decades later, the stuff that he thought he got wrong actually turned out to be true. Because he wasn't just like looking at like the universe. He was literally predicting stuff about the universe. Brother, Albert Einstein goes in a chad. Like a crisp chad, no question. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. You got to put Albert Einstein right there, dude. Miyamoto Musashi. Now, to all my weebs out there, yes, he is that cool. Yes, he is. If you are a Vagabond fan, yes, Miyamoto Musashi is that cool. Like, the fact is, bro, okay, like, Miyamoto Musashi is known as one of the greatest swordsmen to ever live. I believe it's 300 duels, and he won all of them. And this man was also like just a martial artist to its like utmost term, but he also believed in, if you are a martial artist, you also have to be a carpenter, you also have to be a gardener. You have to do multiple aspects of life in order to become a master at one. And he explained it as like soldiers have weapons of war, farmers have weapons of harvest, and carpenters have weapons of building. So he viewed it as, to master one weapon of war, you must first know how to use like the weapons of art, of building, of growing. And that is how he viewed life. Like, and one thing that he enjoyed doing, he really enjoyed gardening. He enjoyed painting. He liked music. Like, this man legitimately was like, bro was just vibing his entire life, and then every once in a while would sword fight a guy and just beat him into bloody submission, bro. Like, that was just him. Miyamoto Musashi was one of the first Chads himself, literally defined the Chad lifestyle. Inspired Chads. The Book of Five Rings? Yes. Now, do I think the Book of Five Rings is kind of overrated? Yes. I do. A large portion of the Book of Five Rings is literally Miyamoto Musashi just telling you how to swing a sword. And I get it if you are a like sword fighter, but it also has some decent philosophy that is thrown in there, like what I previously said. But the majority of that book is sword fighting. That is his number one passion. But he also enjoyed like the different aspects of life. There's a funny story how he had the duel basically like a wealthy dude's kid. And he strolls up, didn't bring a sword, and then proceeded to, hey, wait, and then took the ore and carved it into a wooden katana and then beat this dude into submission. Yes. That dude that you face in Ghost of Yotai, yeah, that guy's based off Miyamoto Musashi. When he beats you up with an ore, that is based off a real thing that happened. Miyamoto Musashi goes in a Giga Chad. Giga Chad, no question. Napoleon Bonaparte. Brother, imagine being so influential, France still brags about you being born there. I'm sorry, I make this joke all the time, bro. Napoleon Bonaparte is one of the greatest, if not like one of the few good things that have come out of France. And I stand on that, me and Migo, bro. I'm sorry. Napoleon Bonaparte, first off, he had a straight up AIDS named after him. He had the Napoleonic Wars, bro. Ran a fade with Russia, ran a fade with Egypt, everywhere that was around him. There was a legitimate fear that when Napoleon Bonaparte, like when he got first incarcerated and exiled, that the country of France was legitimately going to collapse. So they arranged a coup where they would bring back Napoleon just so they could show people, listen, Napoleon is a phenomenal conqueror, a great general, a great tactician. He's not that good at leading because him being viewed the way that he was literally caused civil unrest. Napoleon Bonaparte was viewed as such a Chad by the public that they were uncomfortable if he wasn't leading them. Like people talk about like George Washington. Like people thought it was weird that like George Washington like didn't want to take the crown and instead wanted to do presidents and then like co-signed that. Napoleon Bonaparte, people were straight up begging for this guy to be king to the point that one of the few ways that they were able to avoid another revolution in France was, hey, we have to show that Napoleon Bonaparte is just good at aura farming, not really good at leading in terms of a country during peace. But other than that, brother, I'm sorry. You got to put him in one of the Chads himself. You do got to do that. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like that. Like I'll give France one of the few things that they have, bro. I think that's fair. Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius is seen as like one of the forefathers of Stoicism, and I think Stoicism is kind of cringe to a certain degree because it kind of got co-opted by a lot of like red pillars, and they take it as emotions are cringe, don't feel them. And it's like, no, that's not what Stoicism says. In fact, like Marcus Aurelius goes out of his way that like as a man, you should be loving. Like you should actually be celebrating the act of loving somebody, and that is the thing that you should be cherishing most. Like to love a woman is one of the greatest things that you can do. But to red pill, Marcus Aurelius is a simp by modern red pill standards, and I want you to understand that. Marcus Aurelius also was adopted by like somebody that I think it was adopted. It was something crazy. Like Marcus Aurelius technically wasn't supposed to be emperor, and he kind of grew up a fairly common life working on a farm, but then through some technicality was able to become emperor and was viewed as one of the greatest emperors of like that age and one of the last great ones. The one thing that Marcus was not good at is he wasn't the best father. That apparently that is like the big thing that Marcus Aurelius doesn't really have going for him, is that he wasn't the best father. The movie Gladiator, the Marcus Aurelius is actually the old man in there. And it's loosely based off Marcus Aurelius and his son. And yeah, no, his son was that bad, and his son did end up getting got by a gladiator, but there was no Maximus Decimus Meridius. It was just unnamed gladiator smokes the Roman Empire. And I'm sorry, bro. You got stoicism, you got the fact that he is just inspiring AF, you have all of that put together. I think you got to put him in Giga Chad level. Giga Chad level, I think that's fair. King Leonidas. Now, let me just tell you this, bro, okay? Sparta does kind of lose a lot of its aura when you realize that it's basically just North Korea. I'm not kidding, brother. If you actually look at Sparta, like, oh my goodness, bro, they were just a bunch of chads, dude. And it's like, they were cool, but like at the same time, it's like, no, they were a militarized society where everything was around military. And that included, hey, yo, if your baby comes out with one too many limbs, we go and yeet them off a cliff. And that's just what... No, or they got abducted by slaves or serfs and then were raised like that. No, I'm not kidding. That's actually what they did. And if you were lucky enough to be born a fairly healthy male, you got to live a fairly normal life until you were 5 years old, and then you got abducted, beaten, and probably this by men. That was another thing. Yeah, no. It was actually seen as like kind of gross if you were an old guy that kept on doing it with the same kid. Again, I'm not kidding. Brother, Sparta loses aura so quickly when you realize just how sad it was to live there as like a dude. Like, no, as a dude, like, no, you were getting by your trainer most likely. That's just how it was back then, and I'm sorry, bro. Like, no, they revolutionized the femboy, dude. They are the original femboy movement. But on top of all of that, were they great soldiers? Yes. Were they dressing in mankini? Probably for the trainer that when they were not of age. Like, probably that was what they were wearing. But in normal, they were wearing just fairly normal armor. You had the Battle of Thermopylae, 300 Spartans versus... Okay, it was 300 Spartans plus, like, a solid 4,000, like, in terms of allies. But then it was 300,000 Persians against Xerxes the Immortal. And then, yes, King Leonidas does have some banger quotes, like, what if they berate us with arrows? Then what if they block out the... oh my goodness, I'm messing it up. They sent out a messenger from Xerxes to the Spartans and said, if you do not surrender, we will block out the sun with our arrows. And then King Leonidas said, then we will fight in the shade. And then there was another messenger that they sent, lay down your weapons and we will show you mercy. And then King Leonidas throws a spear at the guy and says, Moven leb, which means come and take them. King Leonidas just had key aura farming moments that puts him into one of the chads of history. I don't even think that's a controversial take. I really don't. I don't think that's a controversial take, bro. Vlad the Impaler. I've talked about Vlad a lot, so I'm going to keep it relatively short, okay? Vlad the Impaler comes from a little county called Wallachia. Wallachia is bordering the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire is not Orthodox Christianity. And what was going on before is that Vlad's dad was a guy named, there was Vladimir Dracul, no. There was Vlad Dracula, and then there was, oh my goodness, I'm blanking out. Oh, I'm blanking out! Okay, well, his dad basically gave them away to the Ottoman Empire as a peace offering, assuming that they were going to get iced. And then they ended up raising Vlad Dracula within the Ottoman Empire to take Wallachia because it was his birthright. And then he took Wallachia and then immediately started crashing out on the Ottoman Empire, where he managed to become so brutal that the Ottomans legitimately believed that they were fighting a demon. Yes, the Impaler stuff is 100% true. That all of that is 100% true. He did do a lot of that. And yes, he is the inspiration of Vlad Dracula. The same way that Audie Murphy caused, not the start of Captain America, it started before, but did relaunch Captain America because Audie Murphy and Captain America kind of have a few similarities. Vlad Dracula goes in Chad. I am going to put him in Chad. I think that's a fair placement. Julius Caesar. Brother, Julius Caesar laid the foundation for the greatest empire the world has ever known, that being the Roman Empire, and the only one that you can debate on top of that would be like the Mongol Empire for terms of being a land empire, and the British Empire for terms of being how far it spanned. But the Roman Empire predates both of those, so we got to give it some unk status, unk favoritism. So you got to put Roman Empire up. But Julius Caesar, in terms of everything that he was able to do, brother, literally taking an army host that, maybe wasn't as big as like some of the other ones that he was facing, but being such a great tactician that even in his unk years of going into his 30s and 40s was able to lay the foundation for what would become the Roman Empire. However, he was also a theater kid. That does kind of lose you out on some points. Julius Caesar, I am not kidding you, was such a theater kid that one of his last things that he said was literally a theater kid line to Brutus after he got stabbed by all of his homies. And, Julius Caesar, okay, and maybe Julius was one of the first people to, master the art of aura farming, and that's why he spoke the way that he did. But does that not kind of come off as he's trying a little bit too hard? But he's going to go pretty high. The fact is you got to put Julius Caesar high. I'm putting Julius Caesar in Giga Chad status. But does come a point where he starts hitting me with he's trying too hard, that I do kind of have to put it in Giga Chad, brother. Be a Chad in the same way that King Leonidas is, bro. He just was bantering. I'm putting it right there. Fidel Castro. Listen, man. Fidel Castro. As an American, we do not like the guy. Was not a good dude. America did kind of cause the rise of Fidel Castro because we did support a dictator that was not good for the people of Cuba, and Fidel was able to get support because he was the better option for the people of Cuba, and then he turned out to be just as bad for, again, the people of Cuba. America has a very weird relationship with Cuba. I'm just going to be honest with you. It has never been that good. No joke, bro, to give you an idea of how bad it was, Obama was one of the first presidents to actually go to the country of Cuba, and before that, it was JFK. That's how crazy that was. It was JFK, and then Obama. That's how crazy that was. We've always had a tough relationship with Cuba. But Fidel Castro, and where I do got to give him some Chad points, is this man has 200 attempts on his life from the U.S. and then still traveled to the U.S. and took a picture in front of the White House with a newspaper. I'm not kidding. Fidel Castro strolled up to the lawn of the White House, took a picture with a newspaper, and then sent it to him because he said, yeah, I know that they're trying to get me, but guess what? I can stroll into your hood. Yeah, nah, bro, that's insane. There was a time we were actually able to recruit a former lover of his in order to go ice him, and then when they were alone, we told her, hey, this is your chance, get rid of Fidel Castro. She ended up sleeping with him, and then said, yeah, I just didn't know what got into me, he's just so irresistible. Brother, Fidel Castro had to be packing, he had to be a Chad, he had some cojones on him. Was he a good person? No. But all of these things can be true at the same time. I'm going to put him into semi-Chad. I will put him in the semi-Chad. That's my American bias right there. Genghis Khan. The accursed one. The punishment of God. Universal ruler. Need I say more, bro? I'm sorry. Genghis Khan took what was essentially a nomadic clan type of society from the steppe and conquered so much land that it became the largest land empire to ever live. This man expanded so far out of his borders that he was literally learning about new religions as he was moving. He was over here like, wait, what do you guys do? Oh, we worship this. Oh, that's kind of cool. Okay, that's kind of dope, but all right. And then we went over here being like, so what do you worship? We worship this. And it's like, damn, man, what do you guys do? Well, we kind of worship a great yak in the sky, and that's kind of the afterlife. No joke. If you actually look into Tengriism, a lot of it is basically Mongolian Valhalla. Brother, maybe the Viking mentality actually works, bro. Dude, Genghis Khan laid such a crazy foundation that his descendants started making empires like Khazaria. You had Khotan Khan, you had Tsushima, you had a whole bunch of stuff that was going on. Genghis Khan went on such a crazy warpath that when they described going through Korea and China, they had literal mountain, what it looked like ice-tipped mountains that were actually the bodies of all of the people that Genghis Khan came in and absolutely smoked. Genghis Khan, and the number one, brother, imagine being the most famous thing to come out of your country. Genghis Khan goes into one of the Chads himself, No question. We all knew he was going to be there. And there you go. Those are the biggest chads in history. If you enjoyed this video, please consider like, comment, and subscribe. And if you would like these types of chad videos, don't be afraid to like the video. Share it with somebody that you think will enjoy it. And we can do some chads for gaming, movies. We can do stuff like that. Again, if you enjoy this, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to stay notified. And I will see you all in the next video. Adios, guys.